I think Turkey has very conflicted interests. They are very concerned about the Assad regime. They'd like that to go away. They're not really looking for a major confrontation with ISIS. They're also concerned about the impact that it would have on Kurds in their own country. So this conflicted foreign policy has actually left the Turks kind of looking crosswise with themselves. So I think, and I don't think that's going to change. I think Turkey will always have kind of a problematic challenge sorting out its priorities and dealing with Iran and ISIS and the Assad regime and Iraq and the Kurds in Kurdistan and the Kurds in Syria and the Kurds in their own country. Well, I don't think it really does. I mean, Assad and his regime in Syria are being heavily supported by the Russians and the Iranians, and I think as long as the Iranians and the Russians continue to support Assad, the likelihood of that regime being pushed out is just not going to happen. So I think what Turkey's asking for is unrealistic. And here's the thing: is defeating ISIS and driving them out of Iraq, which is the primary U.S. interest. That doesn't necessarily require the fall of the Assad regime or the elimination of every single ISIS person in Syria. So the United States and Turkey really don't have really exactly the same interests here. Well, I think that's a real open question. I mean, I think to date it hasn't demonstrated itself to be very successful at the critical and most important thing, which is driving ISIS out of Iraq, which I think has to be the U.S. strategic goal. We've seen the United States help stop the ISIS advance in some areas, and we've seen some activities in Syria. But again, I don't think the activities in Syria, other than the humanitarian mission to help protect the Kurds, is really vital to the interest. It's really what goes on inside Iraq. And the United States and allies are doing mostly an air campaign. An air campaign without somebody to take and hold ground is very problematic. That either has to be the Kurdish Peshmerga or the Iraqi army or the Sunni tribes themselves. It's very problematic if the Shia militias get deeply involved. So we really haven't seen signs of that yet. And what we have seen from ISIS is apparently pretty smart about picking where to try to advance and not kind of overstretch. So we have an enemy that seems fairly competent. We really haven't seen a coalition strategy that's really shown that it has the capacity to exploit the weaknesses of ISIS in Iraq.